Blaster fire tore through pale blue flesh as the small Norcadian child wailed, alien blood seeping from the charred hole in his shoulder. Logan Scorer dove behind a chunk of rubble, pulling the injured child down with him as a barrage of energy bolts sizzled overhead. Shifting the sobbing alien to his left arm, Logan blind-fired his plasma rifle over the debris with his right hand, peppering the attacking band of Zephyrian mercenaries with suppressive fire. 6 months ago, the grizzled ex-Marine never imagined he'd risk his life for a Norcadian, the sworn enemy of the United Earth Federation. But the galaxy had a sick sense of humor. When the UEF hired Logan to infiltrate a secret research lab on Zephyrus 6, he thought stealing a rumored superweapon would be just another mission. Get in, get the goods, get paid. Simple. The job quickly spiraled into a nightmare. Logan now huddled in the wreckage of the research facility, protecting a terrified child he'd found shackled in the lab, experiments to fuse Norcadian biology with Zephyrian weapons tech. The Norcadian Empire and Zephyrian mercenaries, once allies, turned on each other in a bid to seize the twisted biotech for themselves. Logan had two choices: let both sides tear each other apart for the chance to unleash hell on Earth, or blow the place to rubble. But he couldn't leave the kid to die, even if the child was Norcadian. Now Logan just needed to keep them both alive long enough to reach his stealth ship. Then he'd have to pray the UEF didn't shoot him on sight for rescuing the enemy. His AI companion Aiden chirped in his earpiece. "Logan, I'm detecting multiple hostile signatures converging on your position. You have approximately 3 minutes until you're surrounded." "Just need 2 to reach the ship." Logan ejected his rifle's spent power cell and slotted in a fresh one. "All right, kid. We're making a run for it. Hold on to me and don't let go no matter what." The child's tear-filled eyes met Logan's. He tightened his small blue arms around the human's armored chest plate and nodded. Logan took a deep breath. It was do-or-die time. He just prayed he wouldn't get the kid killed in the process. Humanity's future might just depend on it. Logan dashed across the rubble-strewn battlefield, his stealth suit shimmering as it adapted to the shifting terrain. The Norcadian child clung to his chest, whimpering softly as energy bolts scorched the air around them. Logan's mind raced, trying to formulate a plan to reach his ship and get off this hellhole of a planet. "Aiden, I need the quickest route to the ship," Logan barked, ducking behind a twisted metal beam. "And see if you can hack into the facility's defenses to buy us some time." "Affirmative," the AI responded. "Uploading the optimal path to your HUD now. I'll do my best to disrupt their systems, but I can't guarantee how long it will hold them off." A glowing trail appeared on Logan's visor, guiding him through the debris. He tightened his grip on the child and sprinted forward, his augmented legs propelling them across the uneven ground. The sounds of battle grew distant as they navigated deeper into the ruins of the research complex. "What's your name, kid?" Logan asked, trying to keep the child calm as they moved. "Sagan," the boy replied, his voice trembling. "Please, I just want to go home." Logan's heart clenched. He knew all too well the pain of being torn from family and thrust into a world of violence. "I'll get you out of here, Sagan. I promise." As they approached the central laboratory, Logan's suit scanners detected an unusual energy signature. "Aiden, what am I looking at here?" The AI processed the data for a moment before responding. "It appears to be the source of the weapon's power. The readings are unlike anything I've encountered before." Logan's curiosity warred with his instinct to get Sagan to safety. He knew the UEF would want information on this technology, but at what cost? Steeling himself, he entered the lab, the doors hissing open to reveal a cavernous space filled with gleaming equipment. In the center of the room stood a pulsating device, its surface covered in intricate Norcadian glyphs. Logan approached cautiously, his hand hovering over the holster of his plasma pistol. Sagan's eyes widened as he recognized the weapon. "That's my father's project," the boy whispered, fear creeping into his voice. "He said it would change everything, but I don't think he meant for good." Logan knelt to face Sagan. "I know you're scared. I know what your father has done, but—" The boy cut him off. I don't want to be part of this anymore. What my father has created, it's wrong. I just want to get out of here, see the world without walls around me. Logan opened his mouth to reply when an alarm suddenly blared through the facility. Red lights flashed, and a robotic voice announced, "Intruder detected in Central Laboratory. Security forces dispatched." "Shit!" Logan swore under his breath. He turned to Sagan, his voice low and urgent. "We need to move now." The boy nodded, determination flickering in his young eyes. Logan scooped Sagan up and raced out of the lab, Aiden plotting their escape route. They wove through corridors and vaulted over obstacles, the sound of heavy boots echoing behind them. Norcadian security forces flooded the halls, their weapons trained on the fleeing pair. Logan returned fire, his plasma bolts cutting through their armor and sending them stumbling back. Sagan clung tightly to Logan's neck, his face buried in the human's shoulder. "Almost there," Logan panted, his lungs burning with exertion. "Just hold on a little longer." As they rounded the final corner, a figure stepped into their path. Dr. Zorak, Sagan's father, stood trembling, a look of anguish etched onto his face. "Son, please don't go. Everything I've done for you, for us." Logan slowly lowered Sagan to the ground. The boy glanced between the two men, torn. Logan placed a hand on Sagan's shoulder. "Sagan, I know this isn't easy, but you have to decide what kind of life you want to lead. One in the shadow of a weapon, or one where you get to choose your own path." Sagan stared at his father, unshed tears glistening in his eyes. "Dad, I love you, but I can't be part of this anymore. I want to see the universe, to learn and grow beyond these walls. Please, let me go." Dr. Zorak's shoulders slumped, realization dawning in his eyes. He looked to Logan, his voice heavy with emotion. "Take care of my boy. Show him the wonders I never could." Logan nodded solemnly. "You have my word." With a final embrace, Sagan bid his father farewell. Logan scooped the boy back up and sprinted towards the exit, leaving the echoes of the past behind as they raced towards an uncertain future. Logan's stealth ship rocketed away from the crumbling research facility, the stars blurring into streaks of light as they made their escape. Sagan sat huddled in the co-pilot's seat, his eyes wide with a mix of fear and excitement. Logan glanced over at the boy, a reassuring smile on his face. "You did good back there, kid, real brave." Sagan managed a small smile in return. "Thanks, Logan, for everything." As the adrenaline of their escape faded, a somber silence settled over the cockpit. Logan set the ship's course for the nearest UEF outpost, his mind already racing with the challenges that lay ahead. "So what happens now?" Sagan asked, his voice quiet. Logan leaned back in his seat, considering the question. "Well, first things first, we get you somewhere safe. The UEF will be able to protect you, give you a chance at a normal life." Sagan nodded, his gaze fixed on the stars streaking past the viewport. "I've always dreamed of seeing the galaxy, of learning about other cultures and worlds. Do you think I'll get that chance now?" A smile tugged at the corner of Logan's mouth. "Kid, the whole damn universe is yours to explore, and trust me, there's a lot to see out there." As the hours ticked by, Logan and Sagan swapped stories, finding solace in their shared experiences. Logan spoke of his time as a Marine, the bonds of brotherhood he'd forged with his fellow soldiers, and the pain of losing his best friend Jack in a brutal firefight. Sagan, in turn, spoke of his dreams for the future, his longing to break free from the confines of his father's research and forge his own path. The boy's eyes sparkled with wonder as he described the alien worlds he hoped to visit, the knowledge he yearned to acquire. For a moment, the horrors of their recent past seemed to fade, replaced by the promise of a brighter tomorrow. But the brief respite was shattered by the blaring of the ship's proximity alarm. "Aiden, what's going on?" Logan demanded, his hands already flying over the controls. "A Norcadian warship has entered our sensor range," the AI replied, its voice calm despite the dire news. "They appear to be on an intercept course." Logan swore under his breath. The Norcadians must have been alerted to his actions at the research facility. He quickly weighed his options, knowing that the nearby UEF outpost was ill-equipped to handle a full-scale Norcadian assault. "All right, new plan," Logan announced, his voice grim. "We're going to lead that warship away from the outpost. Give Sagan and the UEF a fighting chance." Sagan's eyes widened with fear. "But what about you, Logan?" Logan forced a reassuring smile. "Don't worry about me, kid. I've got a few tricks up my sleeve." With a deft hand, Logan altered their course, the stealth ship banking hard as it veered away from the outpost. The Norcadian warship followed suit, its massive bulk filling the rear viewport. What followed was a deadly game of cat-and-mouse, Logan's smaller, nimbler ship, darting and weaving as he attempted to evade the warship's pursuit. The stealth ship's advanced cloaking technology bought them precious seconds, but the Norcadians were relentless, their weapons hammering against the ship's shields. Sparks flew from overloaded consoles as the ship shuddered under the onslaught. Logan gritted his teeth, his knuckles white against the controls. Beside him, Sagan clung to his seat, his face pale with terror. "Shields are failing," Aiden reported, its voice cutting through the chaos. "We can't take much more of this." Logan closed his eyes for a brief moment, his mind racing. He knew what he had to do, even if it tore his heart in two. "Sagan," he said, his voice rough with emotion, "I need you to listen to me carefully." The boy nodded, tears welling in his eyes. "I'm going to put you in an escape pod," Logan continued, his words coming in a rush. "It'll take you to the UEF outpost. You'll be safe there." "What about you?" Sagan asked, his voice breaking. Logan swallowed hard. "I'm going to stay behind, buy you some time. I'll come find you at the outpost, I promise." Sagan shook his head, tears now streaming down his face. "No, Logan, please, don't leave me." Logan reached out, pulling the boy into a fierce hug. "You're going to be okay, Sagan. You're strong, stronger than you know, and I will find you again, I swear it." With a heavy heart, Logan led Sagan to the escape pod, helping the boy strap in. Sagan's small hand clung to his, a silent plea in his eyes. "Be brave, kid," Logan whispered, pressing a final kiss to Sagan's forehead. "I'll see you soon." As the escape pod jettisoned away, Logan turned his attention back to the Norcadian warship, a grim determination settling over him. He knew the odds were stacked against him, but he'd be damned if he went down without a fight. "Hayden, I need options," Logan barked, his hands flying over the controls as he evaded another barrage of enemy fire. "I've analyzed the warship's schematics," the AI replied. "There's a vulnerability in their shield matrix. If we can get close enough, a focused EMP burst from our weapons array should disable their systems." Logan nodded, a plan already forming in his mind. It was risky, borderline suicidal, but it was their only chance. "All right, let's do this," he growled, his eyes narrowing with resolve. "For Sagan." With a final defiant roar, Logan plunged his stealth ship towards the looming Norcadian warship, ready to face whatever fate had in store. He only prayed that Sagan would make it to safety, that the boy would have a chance at the life he'd always dreamed of. Logan's fingers danced across the control panel as he maneuvered his stealth ship towards the looming Norcadian warship. His heart raced, adrenaline surging through his veins as he prepared to execute his daring plan. "Aiden, activate the cloaking device," Logan commanded, his voice steady despite the tension coiled in his muscles. "We need to get in close without them detecting us." "Affirmative," the AI responded, the ship's advanced systems humming to life. "Cloaking engaged. We should be invisible to their sensors now." Logan nodded, his eyes locked on the view screen as he guided the ship ever closer to the Norcadian vessel. The sleek black hull of his stealth craft blended seamlessly into the void of space, rendering them virtually undetectable. As they approached the warship's underbelly, Logan's hands tightened on the controls. "All right, Aiden, let's make this count. Target their critical systems, weapons, engines, shields. We need to disable them without destroying the ship." "Targeting systems locked," Aiden confirmed, a series of red crosshairs appearing on the view screen. "Firing in 3, 2, 1... A volley of precision strikes erupted from Logan's ship, the concentrated energy bursts finding their marks with deadly accuracy. The Norcadian warship shuddered, its weapons falling silent and its engines sputtering as the targeted systems overloaded and failed. Logan watched as the once mighty vessel drifted, dead in space, its crew no doubt scrambling to assess the damage and restore power. A sense of satisfaction washed over him, tempered by the knowledge that his actions would have consequences. Suddenly the comm system crackled to life, a deep authoritative voice filling the cockpit. "Attention, unidentified vessel. This is Captain Zoran of the Norcadian warship Invictus. You have committed an act of aggression against the Norcadian Empire. Identify yourself and explain your actions immediately." Logan hesitated for a moment, weighing his options. He could ignore the hail and make his escape, but something in Zoran's voice gave him pause. Perhaps there was more to this conflict than he had initially believed. "Captain Zoran, this is Logan Skora, formerly of the United Earth Federation," he replied, his tone even. "I apologize for the damage to your ship, but I had no choice. I have information that could change the course of this war, and I couldn't risk you stopping me." There was a brief pause, the silence heavy with tension. When Zoran spoke again, his voice was laced with a mix of curiosity and suspicion. "What information could be so vital that you would attack a Norcadian warship, Mr. Skora?" Logan took a deep breath, knowing that his next words could either build a bridge or burn it to ashes. "I've seen the weapon your people are developing, Captain. I know what it's capable of, and I know that it could lead to the destruction of countless lives on both sides of this conflict." "The weapon is a necessary evil," Zoran countered, his voice tight with emotion. "The UEF and other species seek to subjugate us, to strip us of our freedom and our way of life. We are fighting for our very survival." As Logan listened to Zoran's impassioned words, a flicker of doubt began to grow in his mind. The Norcadians he had fought against for so long, the ones he had believed to be nothing more than cruel, heartless monsters. Could they simply be a people desperate to protect themselves? "Captain, I understand your fear, your need to defend your people," Logan said, choosing his words carefully. "But this weapon, this path, it will only lead to more death, more suffering. There has to be another way, a path to peace." Zoran's response was cut short by a sudden, urgent warning from Aiden. "Logan, I'm detecting multiple incoming ships, UEF fighters, closing fast. They've locked onto our position." Logan's blood ran cold, realization dawning on him. The UEF had been tracking his movements, no doubt alerted to his rogue actions at the research facility. They were here to capture him, to bring him in for abandoning his mission. "Captain Zoran, I have to go," Logan said hurriedly, his hands already flying over the controls as he prepared to engage the stealth ship's cloaking device once more. "But please, consider what I've said. There's more to this conflict than either of us realized." Before Zoran could respond, Logan cut the communication, the cockpit plunging into silence save for the urgent beeping of the proximity alerts. The UEF fighters were nearly upon them, their weapons hot and ready to fire. "Aiden, give me everything we've got," Logan growled, adrenaline surging through his veins as he pushed the stealth ship to its limits. "We need to lose these fighters and get the hell out of here." The AI complied, the ship's engines roaring to life as they accelerated away from the approaching UEF vessels. Logan's fingers danced across the controls, weaving the craft through a dizzying series of evasive maneuvers as the fighters gave chase. Plasma bolts streaked past the viewport, the UEF pilots determined to bring Logan down. But he refused to yield, refused to let them capture him before he could unravel the truth behind this war. With a final daring twist, Logan managed to shake the pursuing fighters, the stealth ship's cloaking device rendering them invisible once more. He punched in the coordinates for a secret location, a place known only to him and Aiden, where he could regroup and plan his next move. As the stars streaked past the viewport, Logan leaned back in his seat, his mind reeling with the implications of his conversation with Captain Zoran. The Norcadians, the weapon, the UEF's relentless pursuit. Everything he had believed about this conflict, about his own role in it, was being called into question. He thought of Sagan, the brave young boy he had risked everything to save, and the promise of a better future that hung in the balance. Logan knew that he couldn't turn back now, couldn't rest until he had uncovered the truth and found a way to end this war once and for all. But as he hurtled through the void of space, a nagging doubt crept into his thoughts. He had always been a soldier, a weapon pointed at the enemy and told to fire. Now, for the first time in his life, Logan was beginning to wonder if he had been aiming at the wrong target all along. Logan guided his stealth ship into the hangar of the hidden asteroid base, the massive doors sliding shut behind him with a resounding thud. As he disembarked, a group of battle-hardened soldiers and mercenaries greeted him, their faces etched with a mix of determination and weariness. Among them stood Sagan, his eyes wide with relief and joy as he rushed forward to embrace Logan. "You're alive," the boy whispered, his voice trembling with emotion. "I thought I'd lost you." Logan returned the hug fiercely, the weight of his recent experiences heavy on his shoulders. "It's good to see you too, kid." He glanced around at the assembled group, recognizing some faces from his time in the UEF. "I take it you're not here for a social call." A grizzled soldier stepped forward, his voice low and urgent. "We've been following your exploits, Scorer. You've stirred up quite the hornet's nest." Logan nodded grimly. "I've learned things that change everything we thought we knew about this war." As the group gathered in the base's central command center, Logan recounted his encounter with Captain Zoran and the revelations about the Norcadians' true motivations. The room fell silent as he spoke, the weight of his words settling heavily on their shoulders. "So the Norcadians aren't the monsters we've been led to believe," a mercenary mused, her brow furrowed in thought, "and the UEF has been pushing for this war all along." Logan leaned forward, his eyes blazing with determination. "We have to expose the truth, bring both sides to the table and force them to see reason." The group began to devise a plan, poring over intelligence reports and schematics of the upcoming peace summit. They would infiltrate the event, presenting the evidence Logan had gathered and demanding an end to the hostilities. As they worked, Aiden's voice suddenly cut through the room, his tone heavy with urgency. "Logan, I've intercepted a message. It's about Jack Hudson." Logan's head snapped up, his heart racing at the mention of his presumed dead friend. "What about him?" "He's alive, Logan, but he's being held captive by an organization known as Cerberus. They've been manipulating the war from the shadows." The room erupted into chaos as the group grappled with this new information. Logan stood frozen, his mind reeling with the implications. Jack was alive, but in the hands of an enemy they knew nothing about. Sagan tugged at Logan's sleeve, his eyes wide with fear. "What are you going to do, Logan?" Logan closed his eyes, the weight of his decision settling on his shoulders. He knew what he had to do, even if it tore him apart inside. "I have to go after him, Sagan. I can't leave Jack in the hands of those bastards." He knelt down, placing a hand on the boy's shoulder. "I need you to stay here, to help the others carry out the plan. Can you do that for me?" Tears welled in Sagan's eyes as he nodded, his voice choked with emotion. "I don't want you to go, Logan. Please don't leave me again." Logan pulled the boy into a tight embrace, his own eyes stinging with unshed tears. "I'm sorry, kid, but I have to do this. I promise I'll come back to you, no matter what." With a final squeeze, Logan released Sagan and turned to the group, his voice hardened with resolve. "Take care of him, and see this through, no matter what happens to me." As he strode towards his ship, Logan's mind raced with the enormity of the task before him. He was leaving behind the chance to end the war, to find peace for Sagan and countless others. But he couldn't abandon Jack, not again. The hangar doors slid open, the void of space yawning before him. Logan climbed into the cockpit, his hands trembling as he gripped the controls. He knew he was embarking on a mission from which he might never return, but he had to try. For Jack, for Sagan, for the chance to make things right. As the stealth ship roared to life, Logan cast one last glance at the base, his heart heavy with the weight of his choice. Then, with a deep breath, He plunged into the darkness of space, ready to face whatever lay ahead. Years later, Sagan stood before a gathering of human and Norcadian leaders, his voice ringing with conviction as he spoke of the sacrifices made by those who had come before. He spoke of Logan, the human who had saved his life and shown him the true meaning of courage and compassion. As he looked out at the faces before him, Sagan felt a swell of pride and determination. He would carry on Logan's legacy, working tirelessly to bridge the gap between their peoples and forge a lasting peace. For in the end, it was not the weapons or the battles that defined them, but the choices they made and the bonds they formed. And Sagan knew, deep in his heart, that Logan's choice had been the right one. You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.